Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope everybody can hear me. It's a little bit louder over here than I thought it would be. Welcome. We are here at Eggs and Issues at Citrus City Grill. So I am Berkenda, Orange Chamber of Commerce's Vice Chair of Events. Again, so excited to welcome you guys all here. This is our first time at Citrus City Grill. We love this location and space. Today I have here with me Don Wagner, I can't even talk today, Orange County Board of Supervisors Don Wagner, excuse me. What we'd like here is an open format. So all of you guys here, Don is here to speak to you guys. I do have some questions for him, but he's really here for you all. Connie, who is here, Connie wave to everybody. Thank you so much. Connie is going to monitor our Facebook. For those of you who are joining us here on Facebook Live, welcome to you as well. If you have any questions, go ahead and type those in the comments, and we'll go ahead and answer those if we have according to time. So I do want to do a brief bio on Don, very, very brief, because your bio is so long. Oh my goodness.
And they've all heard it, trust me.
I know, we know you, you've been with us 3 times, maybe 4. So this morning we have the privilege of hosting Supervisor Don Wagner, representing the Orange County Board of Supervisors 3rd District. He is a proud Bruin, devout Catholic, a practicing attorney, a former community college district trustee, a 6-year state legislator, and past mayor of Irvine from late 2016 to 2019. Don's 20 years in public service reflects an impressive commitment to fiscal responsibility, public safety, educational excellence, and economic growth. Don and his wife are longtime residents of Orange County, where they raised and educated their 3 children. Don, again, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first time we've been able to have eggs here for you at the Eggs and Issues in, I think, a couple of years.
You folks on Facebook are missing it. Come on down, Citrus Grill. The food's great.
So one of the things I want to talk about first, I think, is the districting. So when you were with us before, you covered a good chunk of Orange. Since then, the districts have been realigned. Tell us about that. What does that look like? How has it affected everything in the county?
All right, so we had to go through redistricting every 10 years based on the census. The Board of Supervisors held a number of public hearings. We ended up with a couple of different maps to choose from, picked one, and it received the necessary 3 votes. So that's the map that is now in force here in Orange County and that we're going to be living under for the next 10 years. The bad news for me is that I lost a large chunk, about 2/3 of Orange. It has been moved into the 2nd district. I'm the 3rd district, and so the current 2nd district supervisor, effective when the maps took effect on January 6th, so we're living under it right now. The 2nd district supervisor, Katrina Foley, has about 2/3 of Orange. I've got kind of the eastern and northern part. Villa Park stayed in my district, but that's the part of Orange that remains in the 3rd district. What it means for the city of Orange in particular is, hopefully there won't be a whole lot of change in terms of representation. I've got a piece of Orange. It remains close to my heart. I will continue to work the city of Orange. And now you've got a 2nd supervisor to turn to. So maybe there's good news there. What it does mean most immediately is that come November, there will be an election for 2nd district supervisor. It's going to be an open seat. Ms. Foley is going to run for the 5th district seat where she lives, leaving the 2nd district, Orange, and the other communities in that district open. And so there's going to be an election come November for that part of the city of Orange. I'm not up for re-election until 2024, so the part that's in the 3rd district is not going to see an election, but the majority of Orange will. So March 11th is the filing deadline. We don't yet know who all the candidates are. I hear about several of them still thinking about pulling the trigger, but we'll know for sure by March 11th.
Okay.
I think. Since it's an open seat and nobody, I was going to say an open seat and nobody files, it sometimes goes longer, but since there's no eligible incumbent, March 11th will be the drop dead date.
Okay, that's this year then.
And we'll know. March 11th, less than a month.
Okay, perfect. Well, we are just, again, like I said, so glad you could be here with us.
Happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about, so one of the hot topics last year, because I think the last 2 times we talked was COVID and then COVID vaccinations. Is that still going on in the county, or what does that look like now?
It obviously remains an issue. COVID remains an issue, not just for Orange County, but for everybody. The good news is that we seem to be on the right side of Omicron, Delta, all of the prior variants, which is not to say something isn't coming along, tell me when, tomorrow or a week or a month or a year from now. But at the current stage, we are on the downswing of Omicron, and to the point where the state finally, thankfully, has seen fit to relax the indoor mask mandate, except for our schools. Go figure. The folks that are least likely to get the disease, least likely to suffer from it, least likely to pass it on, are the ones that are staying masked up. You tell me how the governor is following the science, but that's maybe a discussion for another day. More importantly, we are seeing the waning of Omicron. Our hospital numbers are better than they have been in the last couple of weeks, and they continue to improve, as do all of the metrics that follow: ICU, ventilator capacity, deaths. We have in Orange County remained and are still in a better situation per capita than our neighbor to the north, LA, our neighbor to the south, San Diego, or even the smaller counties inland, or Riverside and San Bernardino. And so we haven't escaped unscathed from Omicron or from COVID in general, but at the end of the day, we do find the people of Orange County have been very good about protecting themselves, their friends, their families, and we have been less hard hit than surrounding communities. Vaccinations, over 70% of the public that is eligible for the vaccine has gotten it, and I think that contributes to our surprisingly good numbers. My position on the vaccines has always been, if you can, go get it. And by that I mean if you have a medical reason not to, okay. If you've got a religious or ethical exemption, okay. You've got to be true to your conscience. But we are seeing the science very robustly saying those who are getting the vaccine are, though not immune and still getting the disease, not overwhelmingly showing up in the hospitals, the ICUs, etc. I'm vaccinated. That was the choice I made for myself. My family is. That's the choice they made for themselves. At the end of the day, I am not going to vote ever to impose mandates, because adults get to make their own decisions. I think the right decision is go get the vaccine. The majority of Orange County citizens have agreed, because as I say, we're over 70% in vaccinations, and we are seeing it in our numbers. The folks that are going into the hospitals overwhelmingly are the unvaccinated. And so that's where we are in Orange County.
Okay, thank you. Now, as far as, I don't want to say coming out of the pandemic, but we're kind of in a more stable period than we were several years or a couple years ago. How is the county doing financially?
So how is the county doing financially? Great question. And the answer is very good, which hides a lot. Some of the metrics that we're seeing are very good. For example, property taxes. A large chunk of our income comes from property taxes. Throughout the pandemic, those have remained, our receipts have remained robust. And so people are paying their property taxes. Sales tax has been a different story. During the height of COVID, when there was not a lot of economic activity out there, sales tax accordingly was way down. But that's not anywhere near as large a percentage of our budget as property taxes. So it was going very, very well. The other thing when I say our finances are good and that hides is that it is just raining dollars on counties and cities from the federal government. They are printing it, they are sending it to the state is parceling it out, we are spending it, your grandchildren will pay it back, but right now, we're flush. our budget this year was $7.7 billion. Our budget last year was $7.5 billion. That extra was all federal money, all federal aid. In fact, we got more federal aid than just that $200 billion delta, meaning that had it not been pouring cash on us from the feds, our budget would have been down, and down several $100 million from the prior year. So in terms of this year and our finances, we're pretty good. But don't kid yourself. It's one-time money. It's federal money. It's not as a result of economic growth, economic vitality, etc. And so it bears watching, and bears watching very closely.
Okay.
That's the answer.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, so with dollars, there seemed to be a lot of grants, a lot of community programs that were kind of floating around last year. Is there anything left? Are there any new grants that people or communities, business owners can apply for at this time, today?
Yes, we continue to receive grants. Well, a lot of the grants that had existed prior to COVID, frankly, remain out there and remain available. Not all of them necessarily, but a large number of those are there. Mm-hmm. In addition, through COVID, we did see the county government give a lot of money. Mostly what I did, and I think most of my colleagues ended up doing the same, was the federal money that passed through the state to us, we would give out to, in my case, we gave out to the cities. And the cities had their own programs to help their small businesses, help their restaurants, etc., survive the economic downturn. And so we were providing grants through the individual cities. In the most recent round of funding, the cities themselves are getting money as well. And so we're getting federal dollars, the cities are themselves getting federal dollars. And so I would, excuse me, say that these grant programs remain available and remain robust. And there is yet another tranche, I want to say it's north of $300 million that we're still expecting into the county from the federal government. And so the rain of federal dollars has not yet dried up. We are expecting to see that. And I would say, the good news is those programs will remain available to help small businesses. And I will also say, and we are seeing businesses come back. A little lifting of mask mandates, people are feeling more confident getting out and about. We're beginning to see an uptick in economic activity. I learned just over the weekend that we are seeing the Port of LA and Port of Long Beach are working through the bottleneck of ships. Mm-hmm. The supply chain impacts aren't gone yet, but anecdotally at least I'm hearing that they are slowly but surely being relieved. All of that is good news for our businesses. So definitely. I am optimistic, but the short answer to your question is yes, those grant programs, those help to small businesses, thank you very much, remain available.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I don't want to hog all of Don's time with my questions. Anyone have questions for Don? Yes.
Speaking of the port, the portion of the port that I believe is owned by the Chinese government, is that fully functioning now, or they got their brakes, still have their brakes on?
The question is whether the part of the port of LA that's owned by the Chinese government is fully functioning or not. And the answer is I haven't any idea. I don't know.
A drone going over would answer that question.
Yeah, a drone going over might answer the question is the comment. The details of that I don't know. As I say, I'm hearing anecdotally that they're working through the bottleneck, but which parts of it and how much the Chinese own of LA, take that up with the LA Board of Supervisors. I don't have a good answer. I just don't know.
Don, why don't you update us on the Veterans Cemetery?
Softball from Pat Buttress. Update us on the Veterans Cemetery. Glad you asked. So
Thank you, Pat.
So the Veterans Cemetery issue, obviously, and to bring everybody up to speed, out on the 24191 in Gibson Canyon, there is a site that's been designated by the Board of Supervisors for a cemetery, including over 100 acres of veterans-only dedicated land, and the issue is getting that constructed. The good news is that the city of Irvine seems to have given up the ghost, and Larry Agron is alone in the city of Irvine fighting to keep a cemetery in Irvine. Every city, including Irvine, including Orange, of course, has signed on to putting a cemetery out in Gibson Canyon, and so we are working now on getting the financing. The County of Orange has pledged $20 million to that site. It's going to take more than that, no question about it. The Orange County Cemetery District is busily doing fundraising for its portion of the infrastructure and the build out. In Sacramento, there is legislation that has been dropped by Sharon Quirk-Silva, Assemblywoman Sharon Quirk-Silva from the Fullerton area. She's been a champion of this issue since it got started, and I first got plugged into it back in 2014. She is pushing legislation that will recognize that site and will free up dollars for that site. The prospects for that piece of legislation, I think, are very good. We won't know for sure because of the budget process in Sacramento. It's still working its way through the bowels of the Capitol building. And the way the budget system works up in Sacramento, governor's proposed a January budget. The budget committees are hearing it, including bills like Sharon Quirk-Silva's bill. Come May, the governor will do a revise based on the most recent tax receipt estimates and actual receipts through May, at which point the final budget will be adopted by the constitutional deadline of June 15th, signed by the governor and enforced July 1. And so by late spring or very early summer, we will probably, most likely, have a final disposition of Sharon's bill. I'm very optimistic. It should include funds to get CalVet, which is the California Veterans Association or agency, on to studying, doing the engineering, doing what CalVet needs to do to make that a state veterans cemetery. And so look for movement by this summer on that project. But so far, it looks to be a green light. We're moving forward.
Good morning, Supervisor.
Dave, good morning.
You've been active in the space of wildland fire prevention and preparedness. When I was at the toll roads, you helped us get Caltrans to mow those medians down. In my new job at Cox Communications, your office was helping getting a permit to get some trees cut down where our roads were. Now your new district is, I think, even more fire prone, if I'm not mistaken, in your two zones. What more can be done, or what are your concerns, or what, do you have any update or chat?
Thank you, Dave. The question, again, for those maybe on Facebook, deals with fire out in the canyons, fire prevention in particular, what we're doing, and as Dave mentions, with the redistricting, my new district loses, as I say, a chunk of Orange, and to make up for population, pushes down south, and I pick up the cities of Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, Rancho Santa Margarita, and the unincorporated canyon areas that stretch down in that direction. Previously, I was privileged to represent sort of most of the canyons, but not all of them. Santiago, Silverado, Majeska, etc. But now I'm going all the way down, picking up all of the canyons in Orange County, where they are prone to fires. The question becomes, what more can be done? What are we doing, and what more can be done? And the short answer to that is that I am, very slowly working on introducing myself to those new communities out there and introducing them to the things that we've been doing in the canyons that I currently represent or have represented for several years now. Though I am new to those canyons, they did have representation on the Board of Supervisors. Lisa Bartlett did a great job representing them. Lisa also serves with me on OCFA. So it isn't as if they had been ignored. It's just now they're my responsibility. So I am picking up on the things, number one, that Lisa had been doing there, and also making sure that what we're trying to do continues to be done. And Dave outlined a few of the things that we're doing. You know, some of them are relatively straightforward and easy to think about. We have seen wildfires start in this county when a car is driving down a freeway, overheats, pulls to the side of the road, and off goes sparks, and they catch weeds on the side of the road, and off go the fires. You know, sparks from a car or a rock that gets knocked into these weeds. So we're working on weed abatement. Just push the weeds back. Give us a bit of a fire break. Those things surprisingly can work through OCTA, through the TCA, through OCFA. As I throw out all those acronyms, we've been working just on things like that. Also important is making sure that the residents in these fire-prone areas know what to do. You don't want them to be figuring out how to get out as the fire's bearing down on them. You want to plan. So we're working with these communities, with leaders out in the communities, to make sure that the plans are in place, known by everybody. And then there are wrinkles out there. A lot of folks live out there in part because they've got large animals. They've got their horses out there. All right, during a fire, you've also got to worry not just about evacuating the people, though that comes first. Realize a lot of those folks aren't leaving until they've got their horses out of there. How do you help them? What are the plans, etc.? Where do you take them? So we're making sure that those plans are known, that they are in place, they are robust, that they are thought through after every fire. So we see what worked, we see what didn't work. And then the canyons also aren't just fire prone, but after a fire goes through, we saw in December and early January when we had torrential rains, the hills no longer hold up the rocks and the mud because the plants are gone, and you're dealing with mudslides, you're dealing with rock slides, you're dealing with floods. How do we help people make sure we don't lose life, make sure our equipment can get back there to protect people? All of those are going to be talked about in the newer canyons, newer to me canyons as well. To the point where I have convened a meeting already with canyon leaders. We did it not quite a month ago. It was a prelude to, I believe it's a March 9th town hall we're doing out in all of the canyons to make sure everybody out there is hearing directly from my office, from Orange County Fire Authority, from the other canyon leaders. Here are the plans, here's what you need to know, here's how you protect yourselves, here's who you call, etc. Last quick point on that, and those canyons are just horrible for communications. You lose power, which happens somewhat regularly. Edison shuts off the power during wind events to be safe, so their lines don't cause fires. But if there's a fire, all of your lines are out. How do you fix that? Orange County Fire Authority has said, going back in those hills, some of their radio communication is spotty. That's very dangerous. You're going to lose people that way. Unacceptable. We've been working with Edison and with some of the other providers just to get more relay equipment out there to upgrade OCFA's radios. There's a lot of work being done and more that needs to be done out in those canyons. So Dave, simple question about weeds on the side of the road. And I go on for 20 minutes. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Well, you know, you do a lot of very serious work, but I have seen on your social media that you have some fun.
Uh-oh.
Something good. I saw that you were performing a wedding ceremony. Was it on Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, and how did they request you personally? How did that happen?
So all right, true story. They did not request me personally.
Okay.
They didn't say, "Oh no, not him," but they didn't request me personally. So the way that comes down is this: Valentine's Day every year is the biggest day, and the registrar's office is inundated with requests for weddings. And they always, historically, they didn't last year, but historically, they have turned to the Board of Supervisors. By law, we're entitled to marry people. And so they've turned to us, hey, do you want to come down and just help us? And we'll run a couple of weddings through you guys. And so every year, I have, and several of my colleagues have said, sure, it's not tough duty. I mean, it's really cool. There's a lot of important, serious stuff we deal with. That's fun, being able to get out and share with these couples in their weddings. And so I've done it 2 years now, and did 3 weddings on last Monday a week ago. But I will tell you this, there's also another side to that. So my wife's a judge. She's also able to do weddings and has done several. All people she's known, or daughters, usually daughters, maybe a son of folks that she's known, friends of my daughter. She did my daughter's wedding. She officiated my daughter's wedding. That was weird. It was awesome. It was awesome. But it's like, okay, you can kiss my daughter now. Kind of weird stuff. But we're very competitive.
Uh-oh.
And so she had done a certain number of weddings, and so the first time I did weddings, when the recorder said, okay, can you come do weddings? I said, yes, you need to give me 5 because my wife's done 4. And then in the meantime, she's done a couple more. So I went back to Hugh this year and said, okay, I need to do at least 3 this year so that I stay 1 ahead of my wife. And so I am 1 ahead of her. Nice. All the weddings she's done, they still last. The ones I've done, to be honest, I've lost track of the folks because, as I say, they didn't ask for me. So,
I love
but
that.
it's great fun. It's great fun, a chance to share in the days with these couples, and they're all wonderful.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, do you have any, I know we have some time constraints this morning. Do you have anything you'd like to share before we close?
Well, let me add this, and I think I've missed, we've got a OCTA special meeting. Mayor Mark scheduled it, so blame him that I may have to run. But at the end of the day, the one thing I do want to say, there is something that we're doing at the county level not too terribly long ago, at our last board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and that I've been taking out into the communities because it really is a serious problem. And that's the increase in fentanyl deaths in not just Orange County. The numbers are staggering in Orange County. We have, since 2016, saw an 1,100% increase in fentanyl deaths in Orange County. And the numbers are even worse in the state. The increase is about 1,600% in that time period. Fentanyl is out there, and the Sheriff's Department is working very, very hard to draw attention to the problem and put a stop to it. The DEA has got a program, One Pill Can Kill, and that emphasizes the extent of the problem, because it isn't fentanyl overdoses. I originally was calling them fentanyl overdoses, and they aren't overdoses. What we're seeing is increasingly fentanyl is being used to adulterate legal drugs. I heard a story from somebody who several of you in this room may know the other day, whose sister died about 4 weeks ago with an adulterated Xanax that probably wasn't prescription, but that's not an overdose. And the DEA has got this One Pill Can Kill program. We've been latching onto it. We're trying to shine a light on the fact that you don't know what you're getting out on the street if you're buying an illegal drug, or just if you are buying a prescription but off, shall we say, off market drug. Increasingly they're laced with fentanyl, and we're trying to focus on that, partnering with the Sheriff's Department, partnering with the District Attorney's office, and trying to get trying to get all of the cities, and we've got several of them focusing on that in their cities. So I throw that on folks' radar screens. Given those numbers, what the way Sheriff Barnes puts it is that were it not for COVID, this is what people would be talking about. COVID's pushed it off the front pages. It's real, it's out there, and some of the numbers are scary. And again, it's poisoning, it's not overdose, and it's happening amongst large numbers of people you wouldn't expect. It's not the habitual drug user, though those folks are falling victim to it. It's the sister of this council member. It's, you know, kids staying up late studying for exams. It's out there, it's serious, and we're trying to spotlight it. So thank you for the opportunity to say that.
You're welcome.
We
We have time for like one quick question, if it's quick. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's a quick question. Okay. Anybody here, look at a car here that's 5 years or older, okay? There's not an ashtray in the car. Okay? So where are they throwing their cigarettes? Out the window. Okay? In those areas, county jurisdiction, you just put up a sign that says, caught smoking in your car, it's a no smoking area, okay? It's a $1,000 fine.
So the question is, since cars don't have ashtrays any longer, if you're caught smoking in your car, where are you going to throw your cigarette? I guess it's going to be out that window, most likely.
Yeah, this one.
And so if you're caught smoking in your car, there's a fine. We haven't considered that.
By the way, I'm a retired firefighter.
A retired firefighter. I am not hearing that those fires are caused by cigarettes going out the window. It's probably something worth taking a look at.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thank you again for joining us. We are
Berkenda, my
always
pleasure.
so happy to have you. We know your time is very valuable and we appreciate you coming. I have a couple just very quick announcements. So our business networking group that meets on the first and third Wednesdays, the next one is on March 2nd, and it has moved over to the Tartan Room. It is amazing, but it is a smaller space that really does host about as many people as we've been having. To that end, please register in advance so that you have a spot, because unfortunately if we reach the 25 max, we will have to turn people away. Our eggs and issues for next month is going to be dark because we have State of the City. So that's on March 23rd, so please buy your tickets. We are selling tickets right now for that.
Appreciation, not stated.
Oh, sorry, not State of the City, sorry. City Council, you know, I'm so used to having State of the City every single March. It's like ingrained in my head, sorry. Council Appreciation Breakfast is March 23rd. Thank you so much, Pat. Ribbon cuttings, we have Borough Slaw on the 24th at 5 p.m. And then we have Mariposa Women and Family Center on March 14th at 4:30 p.m. That's all we have today, everyone. Please follow us on social media. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, all of our members, all of our boards of directors. And with that, we say goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.